Pink Yoga.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
We are back, guys. Welcome back to Pink Yoga. It is me, it's Dev. I'm back again. And who else do we have here?
Nick, been too long at night.
There we go. And guys, Pink Yoga is back and is running. First of all, Nick, how are you?
I am fabulous. I am great.
Fantastic. Couldn't be better.
Oh, yes.
That's good. Same here. But guys, first of all, I want to thank you all we both want to thank you all so much for
Holding it down.
While we've been on our break. We've both been very busy with life after college.
We graduated.
We're new graduates.
Woo!
So yes, there will be a sound bite in there
Somewhere.
in there. But guys, our lives have improved greatly, and we will both want to thank you all so much for being patient with us and sticking by. But Pink Yoga is back.
We
It's
really
in the
do
building.
appreciate it. We really do.
Yes. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. I want to talk about cancel culture.
Because this episode is canceled. See you later. See you around, everybody.
Yes. So cancel culture.
What is it?
So basically, it's this idea that, from what I've gathered, is a lot of times fans of certain celebrities or people just in the media in general will look up on old Twitter accounts, old Instagram accounts, any old social media, and basically look at their old tweets or statuses and whatnot. And there's been times where the person may have said things years ago out of ignorance, out of hate. We've had examples of that, recently with Kevin Hart, Jeffree Star, Laura Lee, and and it's just been a lot of very hurtful things. So naturally, you have the fans who will go and decide, this person has said things that were unexcusable, so we're canceling them. Being we're not going to support them in their music or makeup or whatever product or thing that they're selling.
Which, I mean, it's not fair because, in my opinion, people grow over time.
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember the what was it, James Gunn?
Okay.
When he said some, I guess he said some pretty voracious things back in 2012. And since then, he's changed his mindset on his outlook on a lot of different things. However, because of things that he said way back in the day, he pretty much got the boot from Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the things that happened a long time ago, which I don't think is personally fair. However, you kind of have to give somebody the benefit of the doubt and if they don't, well then okay, that's when you take corrective action.
I personally feel like it depends on the content and the context.
I was saying, and context as well too.
of the tweet post status in question, because for example, let's talk about the Kevin Hart situation. So recently, Kevin Hart was put up to host the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say,
yeah,
and so basically, it was old tweets dug up of him making very homophobic statements. And so since then, he was called out for it, he stepped down from his position of hosting the Oscars and went on to not necessarily apologize, because I don't think, reading his apology, it was very apologetic. He just more so stood his ground in saying what he said, which basically the tweet that he had made was basically saying how if he ever saw his son doing something gay, he would basically be violent towards him. And I think that in that context, where again, this was years ago and people could change their mind, I feel like it was put up under such a microscope because that's something that is real. And it's there are gay kids who get abused for being gay.
True.
So I think that that's a situation where obviously, yes, it was bad, and obviously, yes, it was years ago, but he probably has changed his mind and whatnot on there. Probably feels a different way, But that doesn't negate the fact that you said that, and you said that as a fully grown adult male.
I was gonna say, cause yeah, that's one time where you really can't change and accept, because even with James Gunn, yes, he said him a very long time ago, and his opinions did change. Once again, you said him.
Yeah.
You said him a long time ago. Now, personally, I feel that everyone is able to have a second chance.
Yes.
I feel like a second chance is definitely important, because it gives people a little bit of hope that they're not going to be hung by their necks for one mistake they made, 15 years ago.
Because let's be perfectly honest, I've said worse yesterday.
We've never. Hello.
I've said worse yesterday, and for me personally, I would hate for my career to be put at a halt or ended because of things that I have said in anger or in ignorance from years ago. Especially
years ago.
But I think at the same time, there's this thing where we have to. I think honestly, overall, it holds us accountable. Now we're held accountable for the things that we say. Yes, we have freedom of speech, but it's what you decide to do with it. Yeah. And I think that being in the age we are now, there's no excuse for ignorance.
See, but I don't necessarily think that's fair, because one, it's stuff that we said a long time ago, and nobody ever thought that the idea of our society becoming very zero tolerance with things that have been said back in the day, nobody ever saw that coming. So while they said that back in the day, it was still that person that did have that change of mindset and relinquish themselves of those negative thoughts.
Absolutely.
So once again, we now live in a time where everything is very PC.
Yeah.
Everything is cleansed through and through, and there's no real avenue for edginess or quote unquote spiciness, if you will.
Right.
Everything is squeaky clean, and if anything deviates away from that, it's practically just not shown. You just completely just cut it from any avenue or source of entertainment, period.
But see, I think that too, it goes along, but I think too, I feel like a lot of people, because at least a lot of the people that I've talked to, it's not so much. I think the biggest issue is what is being looked at as humorous. Because again, there's a way you can make race jokes and gay jokes that are offensive. Whereas, for example, you can make a gay joke and it doesn't revolve around harming somebody.
Right.
And I think that's most of the issue. Or like when Laura Lee, when she had made her tweet years ago around the Trayvon Martin situation.
That was just distasteful.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny.
And for those of you that don't know, so basically Laura Lee had made a tweet saying basically if black people want to get away from the police, they should blow up their pants so they can run faster. Among with other very fat-phobic tweets. Tweets about Asian people.
Mind you, this was happening right around the time of Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, this happened within like 6 months of it happening and all the mess that was going on around that. So again, I feel like a lot of people feel like, well, people say things all the time. Like, why is it a big deal? They said it years ago. Why is it a big deal? It's context as well.
Yes.
It's context. And I just don't think it's funny for people to make jokes about harming a minority set group of people.
Right.
I don't find humor in abusing your children over something that they can't help.
However, I will say this because I know this is also a thing. Everything is very situational.
Yeah.
At some point, because speaking on both aspects of the situational side, people like to pick and choose when they want to go and dig up something.
Yes.
That someone said. Mm-hmm. Because you have to remember, going back to Kevin Hart's had a very healthy career.
Yes.
You look left and right, all you see is Kevin Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you look, you saw him in Night School, Jumanji. You watched his stand-ups at least 9 or 10 times.
Right.
He's had this decade between 2010 and 2020. He's been everywhere. So now,
why is it just now?
Why not? Once again, what come back to why now?
And I think that's the thing too, because on the flip side of that argument, I feel like when it comes to Kevin Hart, now mind you, I'm not gonna say like I'm like against Kevin Hart. I think that for me personally, his content in the recent years has just not been my cup of tea. But
Jumanji was funny.
I didn't want to go see it. I like I'm one of those, like, I like the original. I don't want to see the remake. Like, yeah. But Kevin Hart's material for me has not been the best as of recently. And obviously that makes sense because he's going more of a PG route with making movies and whatnot. So that's fair. However, I think that because of his success, I think he's become an easy target for haters to do things like that. And it's unfortunate that that situation's had to happen. However, if I'm gonna be someone who's gonna be that powerful in the media or that that popular, I would have hired somebody a long time ago to go through my social media and delete all that. Like, that's just certain things you just do. You know what I mean? And again, I'm sure you probably didn't even think about it, but you have to kind of take those precautions when you decide to go into the media.
See, because once again, now we're getting a lot of people who are being guinea pigged. So that way, when there are people who
what does that mean?
So right now, they're kind of making an example out of these people.
Fair, okay.
They're making an example out of like people like Kevin Hart or James Gunn, who now have high statuses in society. They're now showing, hey, okay, yeah, we can knock you back down a couple steps.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's not fair just because you're still at a level 1 and they're higher up. Yeah, I just find it a bit scary how one keyboard warrior can essentially just kill your whole revenue.
Yeah.
They can just completely destroy everything you've created up until now.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and get away from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. So, Nick, we have to talk.
Uh-oh.
We have to talk about something that has changed my life forever.
What happened?
I went to this store, this lovely place. You know what it's called?
Let me take a guess. Is it called Bath Savvy?
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, boy.
Bath Savvy. Guys, if you don't know, well, now you know. Bath Savvy is the best place in the world. They provide the finest blends of natural handmade products while creating awareness of benefits of using nature as a source of healing, nourishing, and replenishing the skin and body.
The sugar scrubs is on point.
So, with that being said, they have sugar scrubs, body butters, whipped body creams, handmade soaps. They have it all. They have it all.
That pomegranate's on point.
And let me tell you, when I say they have the best shea butter lip products, to die for. So why don't you get down to Bath Savvy and try it today?
That chapstick is on point.
Yes. So get down to Bath Savvy. And if you're too tired to get up, don't fret. You can go on bathsavvy.com. That's bathsavvy.com. Try it today. You won't regret it.
Check out this shirt I bought, man.
What is it?
This is Palm Tree, boy. What you know about this, cuz?
I don't know nothing about it. Who is it?
First of all, my boy Jeff over at Palm Tree, he creates all these shirts that are anti-consumerism, anime, and vaporwave.
Ooh.
You hip to that vaporwave?
I sure am.
There
I
you
ride
go.
that wave. I got a surfboard and everything.
There you wait, what?
Oh yes.
Okay, all right.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I got a
This here.
vapor. I got a surfboard and a vape. I'm ready.
Oh. No. No. Cut. If you're looking for hoodies, t-shirts, and artwork that embody consumerism, anti-consumerism, don't get it twisted, anime, and vaporwave, check out palmtree.design. Your one-stop shop for everything under the sun.
Okay, and this is Suzanne Sugarbaker and Julia Sugarbaker back with Designing Women. So, getting back into our conversation,
Personally, I feel like using the blood of a firstborn to stick up wallpaper is truly the better option.
well, you know what? I feel like it does better for that to happen because it'll plaster against the wall better. I mean, if you get past the smell of copper,
This is true.
it'll work itself out.
Yes.
Yeah. We're obnoxious. but seriously, back into the conversation about cancel culture. I feel like a lot of it has really opened up a conversation about what's right to say, what's wrong to say, what's kitchen table talk,
And what's locker room?
yeah, like things of that nature. So for me, I feel like I think cancel culture needed to happen in a way so that we can kind of get an idea of why are we so PG, what's considered being sensitive, what's considered like, no, this is not funny or this is not right, things of that nature.
However, I do have to say I'm not the biggest fan of PC culture.
Right.
I'm not the biggest fan of it because what you have to remember is that children who are growing up in the PC culture, they're going to find things that aren't going to be so PG anymore.
Right.
They're going to find things that aren't PG, and they're going to be more involved. It's like, come on now, as human beings, if you listen to this show, I'd really hope you're an adult. When you listen to this show, you have to understand that when you tell someone not to do something, they're going to find a way to do it anyway.
Yes.
It's a human thing to do.
But see, I agree with you, but at the same time, I think that there's still a thing where
It does need to be regulated.
Well, no, but I think there's a thing. I think there's a thing where too we still have to hold ourselves accountable for the things that we say.
It's true
because again,
you say them.
You have these young people who follow people like regardless to whether you want to or not. You become a role model once you step in the public eye for somebody. You're a role model to somebody. And when you're young and impressionable and you hear somebody like Kevin Hart or one of the City Girls saying things about, I would physically harm my child if they were gay, what kind of message are you sending out?
Exactly.
Even regardless to whether it was 10 years ago or yesterday. And I think the reason why people are upset with Hart about it is they feel like the way that he responded to it now didn't do him any justice. It didn't do him any justice. And I think too, the problem is that there are a lot of people who are defending it.
Yeah.
Saying that it's just humor when in reality this is something that's happening now.
In some cases, see, and this is something that a lot of comedians get flack for, is some of their jokes being very dark.
Yes.
Because I remember when Robin Williams came out, when they had like the I believe it was the 48 minutes or some kind of like 60 minutes. A lot of Robin Williams jokes were very dark.
Yes.
Because once again, comedians use comedy as a way to cope with some kind of darkness they have in their soul.
Yes.
And when people realize that, instead of seeing things for face value, then you'll understand, hey, this is just a dark joke. Let them have their joke and let them keep it pushing. You don't need to sit here and dictate what somebody else says or does, because once again, you're not going through the same thing as them. You're not coping the same way that they are. So you can't criticize someone for coping how they do unless it's a danger to society.
And that was going to be my question, because again, yes to all of that. But when it comes to you, Kevin Hart, because I think there's a thing of you can acknowledge the fact that comedians have dark humor and have a dark, like very twisted sense of humor, very inappropriate humor jokes and whatnot their shows, but you can still criticize them and say this was not funny. And I think that again, it's okay to like Kevin Hart and still say that joke was homophobic, that joke was a threat to gay people, and it's not funny.
Plus, on top of that, I also think the way that Kevin Hart's marketed is also subconsciously shows that we see him as the family funny.
They've made him family friendly.
He's the family funny man.
Yeah.
So when you hear him say a homophobic joke, it's a complete contrast to what you've heard originally.
Yes.
Now, it's not like it was back in the day, like this is Blazing Saddles, where you can just go and say faggot left or right or nigger here and there. This is now 2018. We're better than that.
Yes.
We're better than that. We don't say things like that anymore. You can't say things like that anymore.
Right.
So now, as you being a public figure, like Devin said earlier, you are now a role model. You are now a role model. And when things like that were said, even though you may not have meant them in a certain way, or you may have meant them, you have now put this marker on your social status. You said these things. So yes, I understand second choice or second chances and all that extra are still there. But once again, it's the people who give you second chances. Not everyone's going to give you second chance because once again, you said something that is completely off the cuff.
Yes.
That was quite wild.
And again, is a thing where this was not one of your comedy shows. You, out of your own free will, put this on Twitter.
Exactly.
This was not a part of your act. And that's another thing where the issue stems from. Now, I will say this. I feel like if you're gonna make these type of jokes, okay, so be it. There's a way to do it. For example, Lonnie Love, comedian. She's also a host on The Real. Hey, Lonnie, love you, girl. Love you so much. What she does at her shows is she'll, take pictures with the fans and whatnot, this and the third. And then when the show starts, she has everyone put their phones away. And what a lot of comedy clubs do now, they have those things where they'll press a button and it shuts off the sensory, the signal on your phone, so that you can't use it to record or anything like that. You keep your phone.
They're doing that at concerts as well.
Yeah, they're taking it off because, first of all, enjoy the experience, and second of all, you know what type of show you're going to. Don't take what we say and use it against us later.
And because thinking back to what you just said, I remember there was an episode of Louis, where it was Louis C.K. There was an episode of Louis where they were in an art museum, and Louis and this girl, they pressed this button, and it said the N-word. At first, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what? But to some people find that funny because once again, it's dark humor.
Right.
People find dark humor funny.
Yeah.
I understand that we may live in a PC 21st century right now. You can't act like dark humor doesn't exist.
Right.
Which is the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of how society is handling dark humor right now, because we're sheltering away from people.
Yes, I think, and again, because I love dark humor. Anyone that knows me personally, I love dark humor. Like I said, I've said worse yesterday. But the thing about it is, too, I think that we need to not censor, but at the same time, we also need to acknowledge the fact. I think what all boils down to is not necessarily censoring or sanitizing dark humor.
But we know whose place it is to say it.
Or just more so, there's just certain things I feel you just don't say.
Cross. Like there's lines you don't cross.
Yeah.
Especially
if you're not even in that community.
Exactly. Especially things that are big issues right now, like racism, homophobia, things of that nature. Those are lines. They're lines that you want to teeter on, that you don't want to cross.
And for me personally, being a part of the LGBT community, it's something that's, when it comes anywhere violence or anything like that,
it's not funny.
It's not funny for me, especially because I'm gonna speak about it, especially with the fact that we've had in the country this year alone almost 400 trans women being killed. So with jokes like that, it's very distasteful.
Yeah.
Yes, we're just not finding out about it now, but it still happened. So
There's a time and a place for everything.
it's a time and a place, and you just got to be careful, child. But with that being said, I think we're gonna end this episode here today.
Yeah, I think we've covered most of what we can really get with this episode. And I don't want anyone to have the idea that I'm just gonna completely gloss over, anything in the wild that someone says. That's not the case. However,
Stop apologizing. You're gonna get canceled regardless of what you say.
Well, it is 2018.
Your Tumblr. Speaking of Tumblr.
Dear Tumblr. Uh-oh. That's since a part 2.
Speaking of Tumblr, we'll be talking about that on our next episode. So I want to thank you all for joining us in hell. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
That's it for Pink Yoga. We're out.